Oh, did it start recording? I think it did. Okay. Welcome back, you guys. I really wanted to share a few dreams that I had and just some words from the Lord that I didn't get a chance to share last month. Today I'm just sitting here. It's Monday. I was just meditating on the Lord and His goodness. The Lord began saying to me, and I believe this is for many, that you've been a wife. You didn't just become a wife. You're not becoming. You've been one. I remember some years ago, some people in church used to say to me, you're going to be a really good wife. And they used to tell me they saw these things in me. And after going through so many trials, I started saying they didn't know what they were saying, or they didn't know what they were talking about, because God had so many things to work on in me. And because years had passed, I began to see some of the error of my ways, some of the things that needed, like I said, that God needed to work on. And it probably was a little bit of bitterness about the time that had lapsed since they said that. And so I was kind of like, they didn't really know what they were talking about. And it probably, like I said, was some bitterness in that. But God began just saying this to me out of the blue, that they weren't wrong. They weren't wrong in what they were saying, but they were looking on the outward things that I was doing. And although God had to do some cleaning up on the inside, my capability, because I'm looking at my home, and He had me look around, and He said, these things are in you because I put them in you. It's in you to be a wife. It's in you to be nurturing. It's in you to be mothering. This is something I put in you long ago. You've already been. Some things we're becoming, and some things we've been, or we're becoming over time. We're going in a deeper place with the Lord. And so He's extracting more and more and more of that. He told me, look around you. Look around you. This is in you. This is who you are. This is who I've made you to be. And then He reminded me of them saying that, like I could hear them saying it. It was almost like a recording that was playing. And I heard them saying these words over and over again about being a wife. And, He was like, they weren't wrong, but they couldn't see you on the inside. So you're right about the fact that they didn't know what was going on the inside, but it didn't mean that they didn't see and wasn't aware of how you carried yourself, how you were nurturing, how you were helpful, and things like that. So they weren't wrong. They just didn't know that you had some other damage on the inside that they couldn't see, that God, was working on. And so he was just telling me they weren't altogether wrong, and you were bitter. You were bitter at the fact that, the time had lapsed. So it must have meant they didn't know what they were talking about. It must have meant the prophecy was wrong. It must have meant that all these words and stuff that they were saying wasn't accurate. And that wasn't the case. And so for anybody that's listening, if it hasn't happened for you yet, don't assume it's because it's something wrong with you. Maybe, just maybe, God is maturing and making things right on the inside of you. Because a lot of us, we focus on the outward things. I got to get my body right. I got to get my health right. Not that these things are important, but we focus on all of the works and the things that we got to do outwardly. And we forget about the work that needs to be done within. And that stuff is a process, and it happens over time. And you can't rush God into the process. You have to allow Him to peel back the layers and you want Him to do it this way because He's so gentle about it. He's so merciful and compassionate and kind about it. So you don't want this to be rushed. You want it to be organic and natural, right? And so that's a process, and that takes time. Doesn't mean that you're not who He said you were, or you're not capable. You don't have the ability and capabilities to become a wife or a husband or whatever. It's just that something on the inside may need to get healed, may need to be purged and cleansed. And that takes time. That takes time. I always tell people, because it was more people that probably wanted things for me more than I wanted it for myself. And so, people could try to rush you and push you, but I knew that I didn't become this person overnight. And, I didn't go into the stuff that I was in, when I was in sin and all of that overnight. And so I knew it wasn't going to be an overnight process. It was a point in my walk with God where I realized this is not going to just happen overnight. In the beginning, I thought like, oh yeah, he told me, you got a husband for me. I'm going to be getting married. And it was a lot of immaturity. But after a while, I started realizing, no, God is doing something in me, and this is going to take some time. And I need to just be okay with that. Just realize it's not that you're not a husband, you're not a wife, you don't have the capability or the abilities to do these things, but it just means that it may be something internal that he's working on, and that takes time. It's a process. Allow God to finish and complete that process, because it's going to be better. It's going to be better in your relationships. I'm seeing the outpouring of that healing in my life right now, in my friendships, in my connections with people. I'm seeing the fruit of it. And if I would have quit or just somehow gave up in the middle of it all, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. And so I just encourage you to allow him to complete that healing process, to mature you, from the inside out. Like I said, it's cool to do all of the outward things, but what's most important is what's on the inside. Because a lot of them things that we're working on, it's not really even about that. And it's a dream that the Lord had gave me a while ago. It's so clear that that's what he was saying, that it's not really about all those outward things. We think it is, but it's really what happens on the inside. And then those outward things kind of just happen on their own. And people assume it was about the prayer, and it was about that one prayer I did. It was about me losing weight, and it was about, me regaining my confidence. No, it was the inner work that allowed you to get to doing those outward things. You see what I mean? It happened on the inside. It was something happening inside first, but you couldn't see it. All you could see and remember was the prayer, was the list, was the losing weight and getting your finances together. That's all you saw. These are outward things, and there's nothing wrong with getting those things together, because when you heal on the inside, you're going to want to do those things, but those things aren't what's going to get you to where God wants you to be. He's concerned with who you are on the inside. And I had to see that, because for with me, a lot of these things I had together. I had lost the weight. I had, my finances were in order. My debt was cleared up. I had checked off all of the boxes. You see what I mean? And this is why people were coming to me saying, you're a wife, God gonna bless, saying all these things. This is why they were saying this stuff, because outwardly I looked like, I appeared, I was moving like, but what they couldn't see was the damage that was done on the inside, was the hurt, was the lack of trust in people, my lack of trust in myself, the lack of confidence, the insecurities. They couldn't see that stuff. All they saw was the works. All they saw was my appearance and what I looked like and what I appeared to be. But God knows us fully. He understands and he sees, and he's going to try to get you to where you need to be, so that you can be fully processed, you can be fully ready. He's not going to throw you in something you're not ready for. He wants to get you completely ready for that thing. And even then, you still won't be perfect, because we're being perfected day by day, right? So even then, you're not going to be perfect, but still you're going to be where you need to be in order to function in a healthy marriage, okay? And I'm saying these things from experience. I've been married before, and so I know what an unhealthy marriage looks like, and I know what a healthy marriage looks like. It's another video I need to release that I haven't done yet, but it's about, really thinking about who you're listening to when you're getting advice about certain things. Not to say single people can't give you advice about marriage or whatever, but if you're constantly listening to the same people and they're all single and you're trying to become married, You may want to consider listening to people that have healthy marriages. This is what I listen to. This is what I watch. People that are in healthy marriages, healthy relationships, healthy friendships, ministries that are growing, people that are biblically sound. And these are the people I look to and I glean from, right? And so you got to be around and you got to listen, not just online, but in person, to people that are where you're trying to go. Not to say you can't listen to some single people about certain things, but you got to see where they're speaking and they're are they relaying what's in the Word of God? If so, then cool. But if they're telling you based off of just experience, but they're not even married, right? Or never have been, I always say people that's been married can tell you a lot because they can tell you what you don't want to do. But I mean, I'm talking about people that have no experience in any of it, and you're constantly listening to them all the time. And, God reminded me of that when I was, early in my walk, that how I was around all these single women trying to give me advice. It's like the blind leading the blind. You can't talk to people that's in debt about how to how to get financially secure. It doesn't make sense. And I'm going to even talk more about that as well, of coming out of poverty and coming out of this lack mentality and then coming into abundance, right? You want to listen and hear from people that have a story to tell, that has a testimony, can tell you how they overcome and how they came out of something, not, while they're still in it, trying to give you advice that they can't even figure out and they can't even come up with a solution about their own stuff. It doesn't really make sense, and even for some of us sometimes, and I had to do it myself, you have to wait to talk about things because you haven't really fully gained full understanding about it yet. And once God really begins to give you the full understanding, then you can give advice and you can help and you can share and or teach or whatever. But until then, you don't really have a whole lot to offer. You can only get people but so far. You can share. I always tell people, just say you sharing. Don't say you teaching. Just say you sharing. You're sharing your experience. Because you can do that in friendships. You talking to your friend, you're just sharing, what happened to you. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't try to teach people something that you don't even fully understand yourself. Be mindful of these things, you guys. And also be encouraged, take some of the stress off of and burden off your shoulders about who you're not and where you need to be and all of this stuff and what you got to do. And just let God finish and fulfill his promise to you and let him complete that process on the inside, that inner work. If you haven't done it already, begin doing the inner work, the inner healing. That's what matters the most. I love y'all. Stay blessed, stay encouraged, and I will see you on the next one as the Lord leads. Bye.